Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will share with you some information about the rise and fall of the Sumerian humanity civilization. And now, let's explore together.
Before Rome conquered the world, before the pyramids of Egypt pierced the sky, there was silence, and then, quite suddenly, out of the dust of Mesopotamia, history began. They appeared with a fully formed writing system, advanced laws, and knowledge that shouldn't have existed. They called themselves the black-headed people. We know them as the Sumerians. But where did they come from? How did they learn to map the stars thousands of years before the telescope? The speed of their ascent defies the natural evolution of human society. This isn't just a story about pottery and farming. This is the story of humanity's first attempt to touch the divine. And the terrifying price they paid for it. Did they rise on their own? Or was there an external catalyst buried in their myths? Welcome to the cradle of civilization, a place of immense power and darker secrets. Today, we peel back 6,000 years of sand to reveal the rise and fall of the Sumerians. What destroyed the world's first empire might be waiting for us again. Imagine the world in 4500 BC. Most of humanity is still living in small bands, hunting and gathering. Yet, in the Fertile Crescent between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, something impossible is happening. A complex urban society is being engineered from the mud. Scholars call this the Uruk period. It wasn't a gradual shift, it was an explosion. Within a few centuries, they had irrigation canals, multi-story buildings, and a bureaucracy so complex it rivals modern governments. But the question remains, why here? Why now? Mainstream archaeology suggests the environment forced innovation, the unpredictable flooding required cooperation. But ancient astronaut theorists point to the Sumerian texts themselves, which claim kingship was lowered from heaven. They didn't claim to invent civilization, they claimed it was given to them. This creates a curiosity loop we cannot ignore. If civilization was a gift, who was the giver? The Sumerians worshipped the Anunnaki, beings of immense power. Were these merely gods of storm and wind, or represent something more tangible, something flesh and blood? Regardless of the source, the result was undeniable. By 3000 BC, Sumer was a collection of city-states like Uruk, and Lagash. These weren't just settlements, they were engines of innovation. The wheel, the plow, the sailboat, all traced back to this moment. But their greatest invention wasn't physical, it was cuneiform. For the first time, human thought was frozen in time. Merchants recorded debts, kings recorded wars, and poets recorded epics. This ability to store information supercharged their development, creating a knowledge gap with the rest of the world. Yet, beneath this golden age of invention, a shadow was growing. The city-states were constantly at war. The Steel of the Vultures depicts gruesome scenes of enemies trampled underfoot. Innovation in peace quickly became innovation in slaughter. The drive for dominance had begun. But here is where the timeline gets strange. We enter the first mini-arc, the mystery of the kings. The Sumerian king list is a document that blends history with impossibility. It lists rulers who reigned for thousands of years before the Great Flood. Alulim, 28,800 years. Alanga, 36,000 years. Historians dismiss this as fiction, a way to legitimize power. But why be so specific? Why these precise numbers, unless they were measuring time differently, or these kings were not entirely human? Then came the flood. The texts say the flood swept over. After this cataclysm, the lifespans on the king list dropped dramatically, becoming more human. It's as if a connection to the divine source was severed. The world had been reset. This brings us to the rise of Uruk under Gilgamesh. Real king or myth? We found the walls of Uruk. We know it existed, but the epic describes him seeking immortality. Terrified of death, it marks a psychological shift. The Sumerians realized their civilization was fragile. As they rebuilt, they became obsessed with the heavens. They calculated the movements of Jupiter with geometry that wouldn't be discovered in Europe for another 1400 years. How did they lose this knowledge? Or rather, who took it when they fell? But that's not the weirdest part. Let's talk about the me. In Sumerian mythology, the me were physical objects or decrees that contained the code of civilization, truth, victory, law, even prostitution. They were treated like software programs that could be stolen. There is a story where Inanna, the goddess of love and war, steals the me from the god Enki to bring glory to her city. Uruk, it sounds like corporate espionage, a transfer of technology that shifted the balance of power overnight. By 2300 BC, the Sumerians were no longer alone. The Akkadians, led by Sargon the Great, swept in. This was the first true empire in history. Sargon conquered the Sumerian city-states, unifying them under one rule. The independence of the cities was over. Sargon didn't destroy Sumerian culture, he absorbed it. He used their writing, their religion, their bureaucracy. It was a hostile takeover, but one that preserved the core source code of Sumer. Yet, empires built on blood are destined to bleed. The Gutians, barbarians from the Zagros Mountains, descended like a plague. The curse of Agade describes famine, death, and the gods abandoning the cities. It was a dark age that lasted a century, but Sumer had one last breath left in its lungs. The third dynasty of Ur. This was the Sumerian Renaissance, the last great flare of the dying star. They built the great ziggurat of Ur, a massive stairways to heaven. Order was restored, laws were codified. It seemed they had beaten the odds. But look closely at the soil. Something invisible was happening. For centuries, they had irrigated the land, but the water carried salt. As the water evaporated in the scorching sun, the salt remained. Slowly, year by year, the earth was being poisoned. Wheat yields began to plummet. They switched to barley, which is more salt-tolerant. But soon, even the barley wouldn't grow. The breadbasket of the world was turning into a dust bowl. Their greatest technology, irrigation, became their executioner. This ecological disaster coincided with a mystery known as the 4.2 kilo-year event, a massive global drought that brought down empires from Egypt to India. The Sumerians, trapped between salted earth and drying rivers, were squeezed to death. Starvation leads to weakness. Weakness invites wolves. The Elamites from the east saw the dying empire and struck. In 2004 BC, Ur was sacked. The lament for Ur describes bodies filling the gates, the great walls breached, and the people perishing in their homes. Let's pause here, take a breath. It's easy to see this as just ancient history, just dates and ruins, but these were people who loved, feared, and dreamed just like us. They invented the concept of poem, and they watched it all burn. The Sumerian language ceased to be spoken. It became a dead language, used only by scholars and priests for another 2,000 years. Much like Latin today, the people were absorbed into the Babylonians and Assyrians. The black-headed people vanished. But did they really vanish? Or are they still here, hiding in plain sight? We divide our hour into 60 minutes because of them. A circle has 360 degrees because of them. Our 7-day week, that's Sumerian. Their ghosts are in our watches and calendars. Now, we reach the main climax, the most disturbing parallel. The Sumerians collapsed because they pushed their environment too far. They engineered a world that could not sustain itself. Does that sound familiar? Are we repeating the cycle of the first empire? Archaeologists recently found evidence of a massive, sudden population collapse in the region. DNA studies suggest a bottleneck. It wasn't just a political change, it was a near-extinction event for the urban population. The cities became tombs. Some theories go darker. They point to the lamentations, describing evil winds and radioactive-like symptoms. While highly controversial, Friends researchers ask if the weapons of the gods described in the epics were more than just metaphors for storms. We may never know the full truth. The tablets are broken, the cities are buried under feet of war-torn earth, but the warning is clear. Civilization is not a straight line up. It is a fragile tower, easily toppled by the very weight of its own success. The Sumerians were the first to write, the first to build cities, and the first to destroy their own paradise. They looked at the stars and saw gods. We look at the stars and see destinations. But we are standing on their shoulders, and their dust is on our boots. As we stare into the future, facing our own climate crises and shifting empires, the ghost of Sumer whispers to us, "We were you," it says, "and you will become us." The desert always reclaims what was stolen from it. So, what is the legacy of the Sumerians? Is it the wheel, the writing, or is it the lesson that no empire is eternal? That intelligence does not guarantee survival? That is the final mystery they left behind. In the end, silence returned to Mesopotamia. The ziggurats became hills of mud. The canals filled with silt. The gods went silent, but the seed had been planted. The experiment of civilization had begun, and it could not be stopped. If you walk through the deserts of Iraq today, you might kick a stone that was once part of a king's palace. You might be standing on the spot where the first law was written. The past is never dead, it's just waiting to be dug up. The rise and fall of the Sumerians serves as both an origin story and a cautionary tale. We are running the same code. On faster hardware, will we fix the bugs that destroyed them, or will our system crash just as hard? But the Sumerians aren't the only ones who vanished mysteriously. There are others who came before, and others who disappeared into the jungles. If you think the Sumerians were strange, wait until you hear about what we found in the Amazon. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next journey into the unknown. The history you know is just the surface. Let's dig deeper together. Hey.